Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Well, what should we talk about today? I was thinking maybe we should look into Dave Gettleman a little bit in his draft history. He's had 2 full drafts now with the New York Giants, and he's had a bunch with the Carolina Panthers. And so the big question of the day is Dave Gettleman a draft super genius, or is he just full of hot air? Are his picks another Jerry Reese selections? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go back to look at his Carolina days to see who he drafted, see how those picks turned out, and then we're going to briefly run over the Giants' 2 drafts. I don't really like looking at a draft class until after year 3, only because of the fact that I feel that a lot of times you have that rookie season, you have your sophomore season, and a lot of rookies go into the sophomore slump, and then only because of the league now has tape on you, so you got to kind of work on your trade, and then by season 3, I feel you are going to be what you're going to be, or we are who they thought they were. But the question is, how does Dave Gettleman draft? If you look at his record from the Panthers as the general manager, he had a record of 40-23-1, which was a 62.5% winning percentage. He did make the playoffs 3 separate times, including the best 15 wins in 2015 in the Super Bowl. So you know what? So he had the record. The Panthers did have some talent when he came over and took over the team back in 2013. So it is interesting that 28 of the players that Gettleman drafted, 7 right now are starting for the Panthers, and another 14 are still on the roster, and only 4 are not in the NFL, which to me is a fantastic percentage. And because if you think about it, Jerry Reese literally almost had a draft class where he had nobody that he had. After 3 years, there was nobody left from his draft classes. So, and Gettleman has his fair share of success. He had the defensive end Short, who was an All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl, and so did the offensive guard Turner. And Turner was a 3rd-round pick over in 2014, and Short was one of his picks in 2013. So he did hit on 2nd and 3rd-round picks. Now, if you go down and do a quick breakdown of his draft class going back into 2013, 1st-round pick was kind of a bust. We all, but that happens. And like I said, I always tell people, you have those busts, but he did make up for it by drafting Short in the 2nd round. He also drafted A.J. Klein in the 5th round that year. Now, A.J. Klein is now over with the Saints, but he was more than a serviceable linebacker for the Panthers. I do think it's interesting that he kind of reminds me of David Mayo, and then David Mayo, of course, was drafted in the 4th round by Gettleman, but Gettleman does have a tendency to find those mid-round linebackers, such as Ryan Connolly. Now, we break down into his 2014 draft. He took a big swing on a miss on Benjamin, the wide receiver, but then again, he did come back with Turner, the offensive guard, who was a starter and a Pro Bowler. Trey Boston, he took in the 4th round. Now, Trey was with the Panthers for a while. He left for a couple years, and he actually did come back. So, he's got, 2 fairly good starters out of the 14 draft. If you look at 15, Shaq Thompson, who is a linebacker, he is now a starter. It took him a couple years to get into the starting lineup and stay there, but he's been really effective in his role. You had Devin Funchess, the wide receiver. He's had a so-so career, not that fantastic. And then we've had in the 3rd round, which he took a hog molly, he took Darrell Williams, the offensive tackle. Now, Darrell has had his share of injuries. A lot of his career has been limited by injury, but he did re-sign this year, or last year, I should say, played well and did start all 16 games. David Mayo, of course, he took in the fourth round. Who he's with us on the Giants. His 16 selection. The 16 selection was an interesting year because that was a Josh Norman fiasco. That was a Josh Norman year. He took Butler, the defensive tackle, in the first round, which was a big whiff. But he came back in the second, third, and fifth round and actually added 3 cornerbacks. Now, James Bradbury was the only one that stuck, and actually Bradbury has played extremely well for the Panthers. I mean, he really did find a good replacement for Josh Norman. It took him a little time to get his feet underneath him, but he really did come on for the team, and he really did help fill that role. Now, his last draft in 17, now that was an interesting draft. I mean, if you think about it, he picked up Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, you got to think. I mean, come on, that's a home run no matter how you look at it. He also picked up Curtis Samuel, the running back wide receiver, in the second round. Samuel, he's playing behind McCaffrey, but he has playing, not really behind McCaffrey. He's also playing wide out, but he's played effective in the system. So that's. Again, that's another good pick for him. Then his other second round pick was Taylor Moton. Sorry, he's the offensive guard / tackle. He's became a starter this year. So I mean that's another player that he's really kind of hit on. He had some late round whiffs, but honestly he's had some good draft and he had some good success with the Panthers. I think his top 5 is probably going to be like A.J. Klein, Bradbury. I'm just looking through the list here. McCaffrey's going to be number 1 on that list. Turner I'd probably put behind McCaffrey. And, Turner and Short, I mean, that's a tough call because Short has had a really good career with the Panthers. So, especially he was selected 44th overall. So, I mean, he's really had some good selections. And like I said, if you take a look, 28 players out of that draft that he's drafted, 7 are starting for the Panthers, 14 remain on the roster, and only 4 in the NFL. I mean, come on, that's a fairly good track record, and that was with limited draft choices. I mean, he had 4 draft choices in 16, he had 5 in 15, he had 6 in 14, and he only had 5 in 13. So, I mean, like I said, they traded away some picks. They've done some other things. So, like I said, for limited access to his picks, I mean, he's done fairly well. Now, if we go back into his 18 draft for the Giants, and again, like I said, I don't like looking at people fully till year 3, but he did take Saquon Barkley. That is what it is. I mean, that's Saquon. So he did take Will Hernandez, the guard in the second round. Hernandez, like I said, I think he's going to fill out. I think he regressed a little in his second year. I thought he was going to make more of a leap, but he didn't. But I am hoping more from him in year 3. Of course, he also took Lorenzo Carter, B.J. Hill, and R.J. McIntosh. All players on the team. The only player that he's not on the team that I really whiffed on was a 4th-round pick, of course, Kyle Lauletta. And, of course, Kyle went over to the Eagles, so he can just suck it. But then, like I said, then you go into this year's draft. Daniel Jones, that looks like an excellent pick. Dexter Lawrence looks like an excellent pick. DeAndre Baker is an interesting pick only because of the fact that I think he was misused in the Betcher defense. Baker is a cover corner guy. I mean, he is a man-to-man cover corner guy. That's what he is. You play him 7-8 yards off the receiver and give the receiver a good 7-yard head start, a run at Baker. Baker's only got 4.5 speed. So when he was at Georgia, he was jamming guys at the line because, he was big enough to take care of that and to do that. But you give a wideout, a 7-yard head start at Baker, yeah, bad things are going to happen. So I think I'm looking at a big, hopeful improvement for Baker in year 2. O'Shane Ximines. I still like O'Shane Ximines, and I think he only had with his 4.5 sacks, but he came on with Dexter Lawrence. I really think he's going to be a player. Julian Love looks like he's going to be a player. Ryan Connolly looked like he's going to be a player. Darius Slayton looks like he's going to be a player. Corey Ballantyne looks like he's going to be a player. And then the 2 7th-round picks, yeah, the jury's out on them. But if you take a look at it, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 picks in the last 2 years. And really, he's only whiffed, not even whiffed. He whiffed on one, and 2 other ones are, or the jury's still out. So 13 out of his 16 picks. And if you think about it this way, 16 picks, 15 are still on the team. So you know what? He's got a good track record of finding talent, finding linemen, finding mid-round linebackers, and defensive backs. So you know what? I'm thinking that we may be in good hands with Gettleman in reference to the draft picks. The problem is going to be, how are we going to look at it when we come over to the free agents? Because that's another fiasco in on itself, and that is something we are also going to take a look at during our next episode. But again, like I said, I'm not calling him a mad genius, but I am calling him a person that has the ability to find players in the draft, and that's what we need to rebuild this team and rebuild this roster. So again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And like I'm supposed to say, give us a like, ring the bell, please subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Listen, if you want to subscribe, that's great. We would really appreciate that. If you would like to leave a comment, we do not delete any comments unless they are profane, because agree with me or disagree with me, we want to hear everyone's information. And honestly, I don't even know what the hell ring the bell means. But you know what? We are doing this for fun. We're hoping people are enjoying it. We're getting a lot of great feedback, a lot of great comments. This has been going on now for about 6 months. And like I said, I really do appreciate all those that listen regularly and all of our new listeners. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Thanks for listening.